Hello, everybody, and welcome to Rise of Drekis, Chapter 5, Episode 4, A Reasonable Proposal. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Doing great. How are you, Koibu?
I'm good. So do you remember where we left off when we played 2 weeks ago?
I remember all too well because I was the one who requested the timing for cutting the episode off. That's because I was about to be asked a very important question after meeting with Empress Wick and her huge audience chamber. Why don't you set the stage here?
Right. So we've been in and around the shallow sea. We were in Embershore. We're looking into this character, this Warlock. And you looked into him. Didn't look good. Your longtime friend Vordrin was boiled alive in front of your face. And now you've come back to make your report. You've met with your handler, Lord Richard Marshall. You've been brought to the Queen's audience chamber. And unexpectedly assembled here are all the great knights and all the great lords from the kingdom, even from the empire. Off in the distance, you can see like the magistrate of Stromheim over in Eridon. You can see the king of Mystria, this the queen's nephew, a guy named what's his name, King Imric McGarry. You can see his pet gold dragon in human form who stands next to him. You can see generals, staffers, warriors, rich lords, fancy knights with scars and missing limbs, wizards, clerics, advisors, the Queen's Guard. The room is packed with hundreds and hundreds of the most important people. And you and Lord Marshall, your handler, are in the middle of the room, a nice cleared space in front of the dais upon which is the Queen and her advisors and her personal bodyguards. The Queen herself is a decent spellcaster. No one really knows what level she is, but everyone assumes she's at least 5th level, probably closer to 7th. And you've been asked to tell your story, which you did. It was a grim story. It was a story in which you think that you're being manipulated by this warlock named Idria, who is here, well, is on Embershore, working for this red dragon who's been kept under a mountain for thousands of years, named Brimstone, Fire Incarnate. And the Queen asked your opinion on what should be done, if not all-out war to conquer Embershore and the Spice Isles, and if not all-out war with Akuba for sending this man to steal your lands. If that is not the plan, dear Vincent, what do you think should be done about the man who stole these islands, who boiled your friend alive, who's threatening mass destruction? What do you think we should do?
Yes. Well, Vincent begins his mostly prepared remarks, considering he's been expecting this. My queen, unfortunately, I must say that the islands were not stolen from us, but that we lost them. Coming from experience from having governed Santa Barbara before, the Spice Islands are no different, and we have lost the hearts and minds of the people of the Spice Islands. I believe this was due to the unfortunate circumstances of Scoria the Red, whose effects on the Spice Islands were likely understated. I think that this is due to the loyalty that the Tolwick family, if they're in the audience, I kind of nod towards them. The Tolwick family likely had such great loyalty that they did not request as much aid from the Empire as was necessary for the Spice Islands.
You can see glowers coming from the representatives of the Tolwick family when you lay the blame at the loss of territory on their feet once again, their historical weak point, their historical shame.
Indeed, I get that reaction. Due to their desire to please Your Highness, they continued taxing the Spice Islands despite the islands falling into disrepair, the people needing supplies and not being able to afford them. It is this background that allowed Idria to sway the islanders to his side. I do not believe this was a plot from Akuba, and indeed we may need Akuba's help in the future for figuring out information about this Idria. I have, having traveled to Akuba, I learned that at their capital, perhaps we could request information about this individual, though I do not hold the credentials to do such a thing. Certainly this court would, and perhaps there are some in attendance. I look at Shine a bit to who would know something about Brimstone and Idria.
The queen looks to Shine and says, please tell us what you know. And the gold dragon, who is in human form, her just standard looking, she's got one eye though, she's got like an eye patch across it, golden hair, darker color skin. She steps forward and says, Your Highness, assembled lords and ladies, I am not from this land. I am from far, far away. I am here, have promised my service to King Imric McGarry for his promise to stop an ancient slaughter, which he most graciously performed. Your dragon, this brimstone fire incarnate, is only vaguely known to me. I've heard the name long ago in relation to a creature sealed away for all time. I have only been in these lands a scant 4 years, 5 years, and have not seen nor heard of this creature in that time. I wish I had more information. What I do know is that his temper runs as hot as his breath. He is unlikely to work with anyone. He considers your mortal races beneath him. And it's unlikely, in my opinion, that if he is the same creature that he was when he was trapped so long ago, that he would ever work with humans. But imprisonment has an effect on one. And maybe thousands of years of imprisonment has changed his temper. And with that, she steps back into the fold, into her spot next to the Flower King, Imric McGarry. The queen looks back to you.
So, that leads me to my my idea. I believe the Spice Islanders are not to blame. I do not believe Akuba is to blame. All blame lies solely on this Idrea character, and I think we can solve the problem through assassinating Idrea. We'll need to come up with a method which hopefully manages to take him out without involving the Spice Islanders. And once he's dead, we can offer the Spice Islands a proper recompense, supplies they need, tax relief, absolvation of debt, and while expensive, the long-term benefits of having the Spice Islands in our empire are worth the cost.
The man beside you, Lord Richard Marshall, steps up and says, Our dear mage, Vincent, speaks the truth, Your Highness. But I have one concern. Assassination, while highly effective, is not liable to turn the hearts of the Spice Islanders. If they have followed this man and given themselves to him, I don't know why they would feel inclined to work with anyone who has murdered him in cold blood. We would need someone who they know, someone who they have spoken with, someone who can help show them that this man is a danger. We would need not just his downfall, but we would need an explanation for those people and a path back to citizenship. The only person here who has even a passing relation with these islanders is our dear mage, Vincent. It may not be a good relationship yet, but if someone is to do this, he looks to you. Vincent should be the one to bring them into the fold. He's the only one I can think of that they would listen to.
I nod at his explanation, without saying a word, just to say that I am okay with that.
Okay. The queen drums her fingers on the edges of her throne. She looks across the room. She looks around, makes a perception check, sees if she notices anything amongst her people. With a natural 20. And a queen's empress's presence, she can see that there is some discontent in amongst the room. She'll call first on the head of the Tulwick family, who wants to state their case that it is not our fault these places have fallen away. There is a powerful warlock backed by a great dragon. We have managed the situation to keep the peace and keep it from growing into all-out war, to keep all of these lands from burning beneath the torch. I beg your highness to understand and see our successes in maintaining stability long enough for us to manage this problem. And the queen, gives him the, okay, sure, buddy. That's that. We don't blame you for this. Go back to your spot. She sees that the gold dragon who spoke earlier, Shine, with her eye patch, is also fuming and motions for the dragon and says, Shine, you seem unhappy with this. As a creature dozens of times my age, who has seen empires come and go, I would value your wisdom in this situation. Shine, the gold dragon in human form, steps forward again, tapping her sandaled feet uncomfortably, twitching like she's used to twitching a tail or wings, but doesn't have these great appendages to kind of flap in irritation, and so she's just moving her feet and her eyebrows are kind of slightly spasming. And she will speak up and say, assembled lords, ladies, empress, and young mage. Murder is always the shorter path. Killing this man who we know so little about is unlikely to be a prudent action in the long run. I cannot tell you what the right course is, but murder is rarely it. And she looks to her king, the Lord of Flowers, the Flower King, who will kind of step forward and shoo her off. And this man, He's a youngish man. He wears a medallion around his neck. He's got these magnificent robes, fingers laden with gems. Like, the Empress is an empress, but this man shows his wealth, and he, who does not have bodyguards except for a dragon, seems to be decked in valuable loot. This Flower King is a powerful mage, like 16th level. Powerful fighter too, multi-class character. Wears a weapon at his side, bow across his back. He'll push the dragon aside with one hand and say to the room, I think killing this man is the right thing to do. I think bringing him down is good. If the young up-and-comer wishes to do this himself, so be it. But if he cannot, it would be my honor, or Empress, to snuff out this problem in a blink of an eye. I could be there tonight, he could be dead before sunrise, and we could go home. As for the Akuban involvement, whether or not this man was sent by their new king, or is simply someone they have cast off to become our problem, I believe they are responsible. Let us not also forget the magic items he has stolen from our kingdom that belong to us. That craft of his, that magic folding boat, I have traced its origins to Matava, our latest puppet. He has stolen it from them. It is property of the crown. I believe this man to be foisted upon us to create problems within our own lands. They may not have swung the sword, but they put this man in place to cause these problems, and Akuba should be dealt with sooner than later. And then he takes his step back. An older woman in plate mail, helmet underneath one arm, sword at her side, knees kind of weak, gray hair, wrinkly face. Also seems a little frustrated with this and will volunteer to step forward before called upon. She introduces herself as Lady Pentolin to all, but everyone knows her. You are familiar with her. She is one of the great generals of the Empire. Your Highness, young man, we have suffered through a long and arduous war that has brought many people low, has taken many lives, and will take ages to rebuild from. We can ill afford another protracted war. While we may be ready, armies marshaled, dragons upon our side, the Akubans should not be underestimated. Their lands are hot and hostile. Holding them is not like holding Matava or Eridon or Mystria. It's a different beast. We should leave them be. If they truly wish to make war, let us rain fire upon their coasts, burn their ports, sink their ships, burn their fields, and leave them to rot. Let us not waste a single foot upon their shores. And she'll step back. The Queen looks around. A lot of opinions. She looks at you now, Vincent. I say queen, but she's also an queen of Drekis, empress of the Drekisian Empire. She looks at you now and says, young Vincent, do you think you can bring these people back into our fold? It's a small issue. the issue of the Spice Islanders. Surely, if every last one of them were to die, we could reseed the lands with new people. But that seems unnecessary. It is a backup option. Do you think you have a story, a way to bring their leader down, recover the stolen property, and encourage the people to once again embrace the Drekisian Empire?
I think about it. I think about how the people seemed extremely loyal to Idrea, and I respond, unfortunately, not at this time. I think Imric's offer is a generous one. However, perhaps he should hold off on this assassination before first we request information about Idrea from Akuba itself. From their capital, I hear that they have a repository of information about their spellcasters. This Idrea seems like he hails from there.
The Queen nods. They are known for their tracking systems. But I can tell you they would never open that library, that knowledge to us. Not unless we had something great to trade for them. She thinks.
We do. We have a few things. The first is I'm sure they've enjoyed the spices of the Spice Islands. That is our gateway to Akuba, to bring them into our empire, not as part of the empire, but as allies to the empire. We can slowly thaw this cold relationship with spices, and I know that they have been looking for something that only our empire has, Mithril.
You begin to hear murmurs of disapproval running through the assembled lords and ladies. These long-time adversaries, opponents for almost 1,000 years now, are not beloved. They are... I'm not saying your proposal's a bad idea from an outside perspective, but these people have enmity here. And when you talk about bringing them in as allies, you can see that, of the hundreds of people in this room, more than half would rather see them dead than make them friends.
Yeah, hearing the murmuring as I say the word allies, I tone it down a bit. Allies is a bit strong of a word. Friends, acquaintances.
The queen taps her fingers. This tool they have, and she looks once back again to King Emmerich McGarry. This system of tracking and finding wizards is something I know you have long desired, nephew. Have you had any luck extracting this information from them? And Emmerich, wise king that he is, takes a half step forward and shakes his head and goes, no, your empress. It is a treasure they have never opened to the outside world. I have sent spies, minions to see what they could find. They have declined ruthlessly. I have lost 3 people in an attempt to learn any of their secrets. I have been tempted to go myself, for there is no might in Akuba that could stand against me. And then he looks back to the gold dragon, but I have heeded her words and wisdom and not done so. If you request it of me, though, Your Highness, I would happily find a way to uncover their secrets. And his hand kind of grips a little bit more tightly around his staff. And an uncomfortable, pleasurable smile rolls across his face. Like he wants the queen to set him free and burn the place to the ground. The queen motions him back. She looks back at Vincent. You seem to be positive, sanguine that we could speak with them. You have the heart of a true diplomat. You have taken a very peaceful approach to this whole endeavor. Many a man would have simply used force, where you have used words and cunning. A valuable asset. A great skill. Are you willing to go deep into Akuban territory and risk your life in hopes that we can find a peaceful solution to these problems? Knowing that you may face a similar fate to your friend, and leans over, someone whispers in her ear, your friend Vordrin, if you do so.
Certainly, Empress. I will do this.
Good. Good. We have other options available to us, but why don't you start with this? If you can find out about this Idria, if you can find how our Akuban friends track, follow, identify the mages amongst their ranks, if you can find any information on this ancient system they have, any little kernel of knowledge, your Empress would be greatly appreciative. If you can find any information on this Idria, we would thank you. I would prefer to see a peaceful solution to these problems. We have seen so much bloodshed. It would be refreshing to solve this without it. And with that, she stands up. Everyone else in the room that's not already standing stands up. And the queen turns and leaves. And soon the room is just a buzz of people chatting. And you can see Lord Marshall is approached by all sorts of people immediately, and you yourself are lost in the crowd as everyone gathers around to talk amongst themselves about the drama of the day.
I'll stay mostly by Marshall's side, trying to stay in the background just to get the assessment of how things went, and then I'll go with him once he's done.
Yeah, there's a lot of, jostling and talking and people shouting over each other, people calling for the heads of the Akuban kings, other people calling for, patience and peace, cries of, you say that, but you haven't lost anyone during this battle. You sat out in the south and, enjoyed the peaceful snowy lands while we burned. Lots of, hot-tempered arguments. This empire is, from the outside, one nice unified block, but in the middle of it, there are rivalries and passions all over the place. Lord Marshall is approached by a couple of folks who you can hear the conversation of, and each one of these two people who are approaching Marshall, they're both approaching him about you. They want to know, they're asking Lord Marshall where he found you, and if you are available after all of this is done, because they have a problem that they would love a more diplomatic solution to. And maybe your man Vincent is someone that I could use for this issue. It's You know Whiteshore. Whiteshore has still have all sorts of problems, and we've been dealing with the goblins with blood and steel and magic, but maybe there's a better solution to be found. Do you think I could just borrow your man, Vince? I would, of course, reward you, make up for the costs of it by giving you, sole trading rights to Whiteshore. It's a up-and-coming community, you know, and the other person's like, well, yes, but I could also use Vincent. You see, the problem that no one can ever truly solve is the issue of Gnome, and it has fallen to me to deal with the Gnomish nation of mighty engineers, and blood and swords do not work. Someone with a keen head and infinite patience like your man Vincent would be needed to handle the Gnomish problem. Please, Lord mMarshall, I need someone to help me with these confounded gnomes. And Lord mMarshall's like, hold on, gentlemen, please. First, we must deal with the issue at Akuba. It's possible, unfortunate as it may be, that Vincent may not even return. Do not make promises about things that, come now. Why don't we finish this off? And you can take some time and come up with a very reasonable offer. And once Vincent is done with this thing, which he'll probably succeed upon, but once he's done, we'll see whose offer, whose need is more pressing, and we'll do what is good for the good of the Empire, regardless of whatever sorts of bribes or gifts or promises you might make to me, which have no impact on my willingness to serve the crown. He kind of shuffles them off, and after a good 10 minutes, he takes you and brings you back outside into the city streets. Makes your way back to his office, slowly. Well, Vincent, how... That went surprisingly surprising. I didn't expect you to say the things that you did, but you held your own in a difficult situation.
Yes, I can see why many would hold things back from the Empress, because that is quite an intimidating crowd.
Yes.
And she herself is quite an intimidating woman.
Well, power is a difficult thing to have. It's a difficult thing to hold. We do our best, and I have been very pleased with how you've managed the power that has been placed in your hands. So how are you going to go about this? Akuba is a dangerous place. It's far from home. The locals are notably unhappy with Drekisians. They'll undoubtedly hear your accent. Their capital, a great city named Sandashar, is on the edge of the Oran Sound, near the Roshirian grasslands. How do you expect... How would you even get there? There's no ships that go to Sandashar.
Fortunately, we already have a contact on the inside. You yourself have a few that you trade with, and we recently met with one who seemed well connected.
Yes, that man Samir that you made contact with.
Yes.
It's a good inn.
Perhaps we can ask for his aid again. Perhaps you need something done in Akuba that an expedition to there would be worthy of once again.
He nods. You've got a good head for the important things in life. These petty grievances that people have from hundreds of years ago have no bearing on our lives. No Akuban has ever harmed you or I. But these petty lords, these men who think honor means holding on to past grudges, are so short-sighted. I'm glad you see how things are. You haven't told anyone about our dealings with Samir yet, have you?
No, of course not.
You could see why I might want to keep that one close to the chest. These people are ill-tempered and foolish.
Of course. And I think back for a moment about how recent the Akuba Drekis tension was.
The last war happened, I want to say, like 200 years ago. Hold on, let me... the war... what was it called? Had a terrible name, like the Unexpected War or something like that. The War of Sudden Surprise. Everything takes forever to open. It happened a few hundred years ago. Yeah. And in the war that recently happened, the war for Arcadia, Akuba was in the midst of its own civil war at that time. Like, they'd been fighting amongst themselves while Drekis was battling Eridon and Matava and Mystria all at once. So they sat out the great conflict and had their own little spat amongst themselves.
It's been hundreds of years. I agree with Marshall, and I think it's just about time for our relationship to thaw.
He nods. Good. Excellent. Well, you have an intro to Samir. I will try to rustle up some sort of gift for him. You'll need some cover of reasonable business as well. Perhaps I can place a large marble order that'll give you reason to speak with him and then help smooth over any sort of tensions that may arise from such a favor. I'll need a ship that can get to Pike's Point and back with a great amount of materials. We're going to need a vessel from outside of Drekis, something Matavan or Mystrian or Eridonian. It might be a longer voyage. You might have to take the long way around. I have a friend in Redport. We'll take you to Redport on a ship. Use one of his vessels to come all the way around to Pike's Point. All the business can be very legitimate. You can speak with Samir, perform any deals that need be done, and then the marble can come back to Redport and back to us. Long way around Arcadia. It'll be slow, but it won't raise any flags. And then, do you think you can get yourself home on your own? Or do we could bring another vessel there to Pike's Point? You could get back to Pike's Point and we'll get someone there for you. I'll find a contact. Give me a few days to work out the details. I want to make sure you can get home safely.
Yes, of course. I always trust myself to your wisdom, Marshall.
Excellent. Good. And soon I also have a new bodyguard. I think that was the term you preferred using for your dear and loyal friend, Vordrin. So, I'll see you I'll call you in a week, he tells you.
Of course. I'll get acquainted with this person in the meantime.
Excellent. So, you will be meeting your new friend, whose name is Kura. She is originally, she was a Sherpa. She was the person who would help haul goods up and down Wiklamdo, this, holy sacred mountain in the middle of the kingdom of Drekis. It's a big climb, and fancy people need their stuff hauled up and down, so she is pretty tough. I think you can see her character sheet. I don't know why it's not showing her stats. You can see her stats?
I can.
Ah, perfect. Yes. They're pretty good. She's quite strong. 17 strength, 10 dex, 15 con, 8 int, 6 whiz, not great charisma, not great perception. But she is a specialist with the quarterstaff, which helps her sort of pass unassuming. 2 slots in staff, 1 in sling, 1 in spear, 1 in two-handed weapons, which means that her quarterstaff has initiative 1. It's really, really fast when she uses it because it's a two-handed weapon. It's size large, so when she criticals people, she gets to roll on the big table. 17 strength means +1 to hit and damage. She's only level 2. She's like 10 years older than you, though. I rolled for her XP and level, and she rolled pretty poorly, so only 2,473. But she does have 17 strength, so she gets 10% on all XP as she gains it.
Nice.
She does just speak Drekisian. She does not speak Akuban, unfortunately. She wears chainmail, but she can wear other, she can switch out her gear, and she can carry some of your stuff. If she drops her chainmail, she can carry a lot of your stuff.
Okay. I'll spend the week, fighting alongside her, training with her as I am a what was that spell name? Abjuration? Enchant? No.
Transmutation?
Transmutation. As I am a
Yes.
transmutation specialist, it requires her to be familiar with having herself be, large and strengthened and perhaps even hastened, which I do not cast on her, as it takes a big toll on someone's body.
Yes, it does. Now, I do want to point out that her quarterstaff, she has 1 to hit from level and 1 to hit from specialization. And her damage total is going to be D4 plus 4 damage, which means that she rolls a minimum of 5 on damage and a maximum of 8. So not a huge variability, but she does not hit lightly. If she hits you, it's gonna fucking hurt. But also her max damage output isn't super high. And this is a character archetype I haven't seen very much of, the very high minimum damage without a super high maximum. Also, quarterstaffs blend in. They can just be a walking stick.
Nice.
All right.
Do you want to play as Kura, or shall I?
Well, she's not super smart, right? 8 int, 6 willpower, 9 charisma, 8 perception. So for the most part, her background is that of hauling other people's stuff. That was her job for a long time. She's not very well traveled. She doesn't speak a lot of languages. She's from a pretty lower class family. So I think her position is mostly going to be keeping her mouth shut, but I will play her as needed. Her temperament, you will discover, is sort of, what do you call it? Like begrudgingly accepting her lot in life. Like she's taken this job from Lord Marshall because she's got a large family and she's the only one who's really capable of providing for them. And she doesn't want to do it. She really doesn't want to travel the world. She would much rather just hang out at home, but now she's working with you to do this and leave her very large family behind. So she's not a super friendly person. She's not a super excited person. She mostly just wants to do the minimum work in order to get home. And that doesn't mean she's lazy. She'll do whatever it takes, but her soul is not in it. Her spirit of adventure is bare minimum. It's more of like a someone who's just trying to get through her 9 to 5.
Yeah, I got it. So it sounds like her motivation is money, which means I'll make sure to ask Marshall next time we meet about how much she's getting paid.
Yeah. Well, she is getting paid pretty well. Why don't we take our break? We'll come back on the other side and we will discuss whatever plans need to be discussed for you to head off into your adventure. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rise of Drekis Chapter 5. So, it's going to be a little while before you leave. It's not going to be until January 15th, new moon on a dark, starless sky, when you finally get to leave. And you don't get to leave from Wickthrone Renta. You're going to have to walk. Well, actually take a carriage because you're a fancy person now. You have nice, powerful friends. Walk yourself to Bon Theris. Now, in this time, you've got to talk with Richard Marshall as much as you want, and you've got to meet your new companion, Kura, and get to know her a little bit. We discussed at the end of our last break, kind of her vibe and what's going on with her. If you have any questions about her, now is the time to ask them. And now's the time to get any information or tools you might need for your journey.
So it looks like from Bon... I'm surprised we're going to Bon Theris first. Is this next leg going to sail us through the south side of the continent or some other way?
Yeah, so if we zoom all the way out on our map, The issue with getting, big mercantile ships between Drekis and Akuba is it's just an uncomfortable thing, as we were discussing. So the plan is to go to this town over here called Redport. This little kingdom, this little tiny free kingdom over here is a neutral third party in all things, and they've become quite close with the Empire. The Empire protects them from the enemies overseas, and they're a really big trading hub for people far off. So there's a nice sort of symbiotic relationship going on. They could easily trade with the Akubans, no problem. But if there's big stuff going back and forth between Drekis and Akuba, specifically, someone's going to catch wind of it. It's going to be a mess. So you're going to Redport, and then from Redport, you're going to take a boat all the way around, taking the long way to get to Sandashar. And then it'll be a Redport flagged ship with a Eridonian crew, Eridonian captain, all these Eridonian people who can do whatever trading they want. And actually, you won't be going to Sandashar. You'll be going to Pike's Point. It'll do all the marble pickup and everything in Pike's Point. Then that ship will leave and head back to do this. And then that ship will head all the way back over here, taking literally the long way around just to make sure everything is on the up and up, which is hilarious because they essentially have to pass through the same section. But if they were to do this journey directly, it's a bit of a mess. So long way around both ways to make sure everything passes through Redport and all the goods look like they're coming from Redport. Everything to, to not ruffle the feathers of those people who think honor means old grudges. In the meantime, you'll get dropped off in Pike's Point. You'll meet up with Samir, and you'll figure it from there. Also, you will have one of the people that you're going to meet in Redport is going to come and stay with you. Not with you, but hang out in Pike's Point and find passage back to Drekis for you. So whenever it is you do make it back, they'll have some time frame. Some maximum time frame that they're going to wait. Then they'll be able to get you easily back to Drekis without too much trouble. So that's the plan.
Okay.
At
Redport, hopefully we can pick up a Kuban garb for Kura.
Yeah, definitely couldn't get it here. Might be able to get it there. So, are there any things that you need?
I'll have hung out with Kura enough to get that her main adventuring motivation is money. So I'd like to figure out how much she makes to see if there's a way to properly motivate her.
Yeah.
Above and beyond.
So Kura's got a big family, right? And the average... what she was doing before this, when she was just like a Sherpa, she had... I'm looking up her income... She was at the higher age of laborer. She was making probably like 300 gold a year, going up and down the mountain, hauling all of these supplies, because she was good at it. She was, top tier Sherpa, good warrior in the same process, could help, defend people off whatever little thingies were over there. 300 gold a year is not bad. She was literally making a gold a day, which is excellent wages for a laborer. It's pretty good wages all the way around. That's like what a heavy footman would make. It's like what it's like twice the wages of your average like village watchman. So it's pretty good money. But she's got a big family, a really big family, and unfortunately there are some lack of abilities in the family, and some young people, and some old people, and some dead people. So she needs to be making a lot more. She's been offered double her normal wages to work with you. So that's 2 gold a day. That's the amount of money that like the sheriff of a small village would make, which is, it's pretty good. Those are real wages. What's something else to compare that to? That's like what a physician might make. Well, that's not true. That's how much it would cost to hire them for a day. It's what a shipwright, someone who builds ships, would make, or someone who carves marble for building. It's what a high quality, like an artisanal chef, not just like a cook, like a proper chef would make. It's good money. And she's being given a large bonus. If she does not make it home, her family will also receive 200. Her family will receive another 300 gold. That's half a year's wages if she dies. If she survives, she will get 150 gold as a bonus, and then also guaranteed employment in the future.
Nice. If I remember right, I am at the period of time where I don't have a salary, right? Since I'm...
That's right. You were kind of picked to do this because you owe a certain amount of services because you had your education paid for. So you're you've just been given cash to work with, but you make no money.
Okay.
Okay. Well, any other questions?
I'd like to think that going from Kura's point of view and discussing battle tactics with her, she'll probably demand a certain amount of money if I were to cast haste on her.
Yeah. Well, do you tell her about the haste spell and how it ages you?
I do.
How many years does it age you?
1 year.
Well, that's not terrible. That's a year off her life. Well, she's making... In a year, she could make 600 gold. So at the bare minimum, she would want 600 gold. But also, it's not just a year's worth of labor that she's losing. It's also a year of her life. So she's not super excited about the prospect of it. On the other hand, 600 gold for a year of your life, that's pretty good. She'll do it for 600.
All right, well,
that's
I'll
her
negotiate
opening
with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell her that's understandable. Do you want me to cast it on you if we get into a life-threatening situation, and would you discount that amount in that case?
The 40-year-old woman with the quarterstaff specialization says, "What do you mean?"
Suppose we were in a life or death battle where our lives probably hinged on the casting haste on you. Would you be willing to take quite a bit less? I'm ashamed to admit that I do not currently make very strong of a wage, but I'm sure I could pay you back later.
If we're in a life or death situation where the only way to survive is to cast haste, couldn't we just flee? Couldn't we just run? Why would we have to fight it?
Sometimes you cannot flee from something.
Well, if my choice is between death or aging a year, I prefer to age a year. But I don't want no fancy-pantsy noble who thinks of me as just another body to haul their stuff around, throw my life away for ain't no reason. I heard what happened to your previous person. You watched him boil alive? I ain't gonna stand there and let you watch me be boiled alive. If it's truly life or death, if we are cornered like rats and we're being attacked by a swarm of goblins and the only way to survive is through the use of this spell and it can only be used on me to survive, then fine. Yes. But don't you go trying to turn that into something it ain't. Don't you try to create a situation just to do this thing to me. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I nod.
Don't you know that as soon as a person hits 45 years old in game mechanics, they take -1 to strength and con? And I got 17 strength and 15 con, so that means -1 to hit and -1 to HP for each level I've gained.
Of course.
I'm right up to... it's only 5 years away from me. Don't waste my youth.
Yes, hopefully Hopefully, our adventure will be much less exciting than that of Wardren's.
So why do you get boiled alive?
I think about how to respond to this one, and I say, well, this Idria man, he's a very bad man, and unfortunately, he captured us.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't free him?
Unfortunately, I couldn't take on him and his entire army.
And they boiled your bodyguard alive instead of you, huh?
Yeah.
You didn't want to switch places with them?
He wanted me to go. I say truthfully, with a hint of doubt.
Wanted you to go.
He thought I'd be a better messenger than Vordren.
So they wouldn't let you switch places, but you woulda, if you could. Is that what I'm hearing? She says, looking at you, testing you to see who you are as a human.
Yeah, Vincent thinks about it and says, in truth, I would not have swapped places with Vordren as much as I liked him.
She nods. Well, just so we're on the clear, if they're gonna boil me alive, I'm gonna sell you down the river faster than you can spit.
I appreciate your honesty, Kura.
All right. Good. Do you have any other questions for Kura?
It sounds like our journey will take about a month, maybe longer.
Yeah, a month plus 2d8 days that you're going to be spending in Redport while they arrange ships. There's no cell phone, so your boat's going to go there. Then they're gonna be like, "Hey, we need you to do this favor," and then they need to arrange a ship and wait for things to happen. So 39-ish days is the expectation.
Great. I will try to hang out with her often and teach her very basic Akuban phrases.
All right, let's give her. Where is it? Let's give her just an intelligence check. 15. Well, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and she is quite the yokel. She's quite the mountain woman, and I don't know if you've spent much time with mountain people. They can be kind of set in their ways sometimes. I married a mountain woman. She's kind of set in her ways sometimes. And the idea of hanging out with these Akubans, really, she is not pro-Akuban. You try and teach her words, and she just talks about how it sounds like this curse word or that curse word. And you find out pretty quickly that she's got the mouth of a sailor. And she will be able to, form a couple of things here and there. But whether or not she remembers it and during the important moments is going to be up in the air.
Okay.
Yeah, she drinks a little bit too. Not to excess, but you will often find her with some sort of intoxicant in her free time.
Do
you have any more questions for Lord Marshall?
No.
Okay. So just making notes about Kura. Doesn't drink to excess, but does in her enjoys herself in her evenings. Great. So on the 15th of January, we set forth from Bon Theris, and we're gonna head all the way to Redport. We're just gonna do a quick little die roll, see how the voyage goes. Why don't you roll us the die to see how the voyage goes? Don't roll a 1. That would be awkward. Oh my god, a 19. What a fantastic roll. You are managing to cut off 30% of your travel time So what is 30% of 20? 20 times 0.7. It only takes you 14 days to get there. Fantastic. You will arrive in Redport on February 1st. Nice. 1522 is the year. February 1st, Redport. Voyage is uneventful. The wind is at your back the whole time. The tides are great. You never lose sight of land. Just clear skies and no still days. You arrive with time to spare. You meet your friends and contacts here who are probably not going to play a significant part of this game because their job is just to get you somewhere and then leave. So we're going to gloss over these Redportian merchants that you meet. And why don't you roll me 2d8 for how many days it takes them to get their stuff together.
Okay. And while they may not be important, they probably know a thing or two about Akuba, so I'll ask them about general information about Akuba while they're preparing.
Absolutely. Well, it turns out one of their ships has just arrived, and their crew needs a little bit of time to go spend all of their money before they'll be ready to go again. Akuba happens to be the place that this merchant frequents. This merchant's name, let me just figure out who they are. We'll get a couple details on them. Is Aurora. Redport merchant. Female. She is 19 years old. She is as far as merchants go, she's pretty young. She's inherited her family business in Redport. Her predecessor, her father before her, unfortunately his ship sank near White Shore, this little peninsula. Can I ping you to it? Way down over here. There's been some strange things happening there. There's a large sea monster that destroyed many ships. There's a big Drekisian fleet that sank. And from time to time, ships just go missing around this peninsula. And her father is one of those ships that did that. But before that, the family business, being the traders that they are, focused mostly on the northwestern coast of Arcadia. So they're very familiar with these northern Akuban ports over here, as well as this Akuban port town and this free city and this free city. These two are the free cities. This is a weird Akuban port that has a lot of crossover with the elves before they left. And then these are the other Akuban ports. So she knows quite a lot. What would you like to know? Anything important? Anything specific, or just general information?
Let's see. I guess general things. Does she manage to trade with any Akuban cities other than just Pike's Point? How would an Akuban react to a Drekisian if they were in the deeper cities of Akuba?
Yeah. Well, the locals, once you're in and amongst the people, they'll give you space. They might spit on you. They'll definitely talk about you behind your back. And if you do anything that actually pisses them off, they might hang out with their friends, get a little drunk, and then come and harass you. And sometimes that harassment gets out of hand, right? Like they and their buddies might come over and start talking shit, maybe throw in some rocks, and then if you respond, things can escalate and just they get out of hand. They didn't mean to kill you and your friends, but they think you're trash, and so they throw poop at you, and then you get up to do something, and then they throw a rock and you get hit in the head, and it just so the true locals in deeper Akuba, they just don't like the Drekisians, right? Now, the more educated, the ones on the edges, the ones that have more business offerings or higher status and understand more nuanced things, they're more likely to look at you and smile and say all the niceties to your face, and then behind your back talk about how terrible you are the way that you smell. The Kubans have this thing about the way the Drekisians smell. They say you smell like mold, that you're just constantly rotting, that like death is so close to you that you just reek of rotting flesh all the time. It's not true. Obviously, it's not true, but like that's their little bit of a racism that they like to roll with.
Cool.
But the more well-to-do people, they recognize that everyone is a tool in the world to be used for their own purposes, and they'll happily work with you to their own advantage, and they'll smile, and then they'll show their true colors to someone they trust. So be a little careful.
Okay. I'll have Kura pick out her Akuban outfit.
Yeah.
While we're in red.
She'll grumble a little bit about, dressing up like a Kuban dog is the preferred term that Drekisians use for them. But also like, hey, you know what? She's lived a hard life. Someone wants to offer you free clothes, you take the free clothes, okay? You could repurpose these later. So she takes something that has lots of fabric, like long, what do you call it? It's like a tunic that comes down to about her thighs, and then these like big, baggy, loose pants with like a really thin material. The outfit that she is picking does happen to be a little bit more expensive. Like the materials that she chooses would make a really nice dress for her daughter one day, is what you're thinking. These things, if repurposed and redesigned into more Drekisian clothes, they would be very nice. And so she picks something a little bit more pricey, a little bit more loose and flowy, anything with lots and lots of fabric. And then I don't know what sort of hats would they wear in Akuba. Definitely something with a very broad brim, but I think it's sort of like a broad, it comes up at the edges a little bit. Not quite like a Western hat, or maybe like a Western hat if it like went. Ooh, it's similar to the sombrero, but without the pointy bit in the middle. You know how sombreros come out and then they curl up at the edges? Yeah, it's got that same sort of curling up nature. And they don't have straw hats, but they've got these. What do you call them? The papyrus plants that you might weave into paper. There's a similar sort of reed there, kind of like the cattail, kind of like papyrus, but it's a little bit sturdier, and you can slice it into thin pieces and weave it together, and when it dries, it bends a little. And so they've got these broader straw equivalent hats that will give her lots and lots of shade. Yep.
Cool. Lord Richard Marshall has probably thought of this. Vincent and Kura have no money, and we're going to Akuba. Could he get us a reasonable amount of spending money?
Spending money. Yes. So a contract is drawn up for you to negotiate with Samir. A bag of opals is provided for payment, with the understanding that if more payment is needed, it can be forthcoming. You'll negotiate those points later. Marshall swears he's good for it, but he also says that like this should cover everything. You and Kura are going to be given maybe. You're expected to be gone for, it's going to be a month and change, and then maybe some more change there. So 4 months, and travel costs of a gold a day for 4 months. So 120 gold will be your expenses. And a lot of that time is on a boat where you won't be spending it, but why don't we just give you 120 gold in your gear?
Cool.
And for the clothing, tables for everything. You already have clothes, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so it's just Kura who needs it, and that'll be 20 gold for that. So down to 100. Perfect.
My eyes stagger a little bit about the 20 gold dress that she chose, but I will buy it.
Mm-hmm. Right. So in Redport we are. It's only 5 days until the ship turns around, and then it is a 20-day journey to Pike's Point. So why don't you go ahead and roll me another d20 for how that journey goes.
All right. Please no 1. 2.
Ooh, a 3 is not great, though. 3 is really not great. Now it's winter time, right? It's February. And oftentimes, that means, it can mean strong winds. And initially, those strong winds were at your back, and they helped you move from Drekis to Redport really quickly. And the winds in and around Arcadia are actually a little bit unusual. You would expect wind to just like kind of go in one direction across the whole continent because it's not that wide of a continent. But that's not always the case. The winds here can be not always predictable. And with a 3 on your roll, we are running into one of these nasty storms right over here, right in this region, near Weatherlight, near Pinespur, near Gade Isle. As you're coming along, the captain at first wants to like go in this pass through the Strait of Aemon, and it's right here, right at the entrance to the Strait of Aemon, that the clouds are kind of overcast. There's been like a little bit of rain, some thunder in the distance, or some lightning in the distance. But beginning to enter the strait, the storm sets upon your vessel, and you are rocked from side to side. Your ship is in trouble. Now, a 3, you don't sink, but you are going to end up in an unfavorable position of which there might need to be a small adventure to escape. The only question is on which side of the strait do you end up? Do you end up on the north side, on Gate Isle, or do you end up on the south side in Old Eridon? And the curved nature does mean Eridon's slightly more likely. So why don't you roll me a d8 on a 1 through 5, you end up in Eridon. On a 6 through 8, you end up in... Thank God. Okay. Whew. Whew. All right, so 3, that is literally halfway. We're going to find that our ship has to make an emergency soft landing, is what we're going to call it, upon the shore. You will end up getting beached down here near these hills. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. The storm will pass. It does last for 2 days. You get beached on the first day. So it's a full day just hunkering down on the ship on the coastline. But when all comes to, you end up on the land here. And once the storm passes, the area actually is quite nice. You know, there's these really large hills nearby. The sand has been tossed around by the strong tides and waves, and your boat is beached up higher than anyone would like. You know, during the storm, the tide's a little bit higher. The boat goes up pretty high. When the tide's lower, the whole boat is just sort of like tilted to the side and beached. And you and Kura and all the people aboard your vessel, which probably needs a name, we're going to call it the Wind Score is the name of your ship. Wind Score. And survey the damage. The hull is fairly intact. What problems there are can be temporarily patched by your crew. But the boat needs to be put back in the water. You're going to have to wait for either an appropriate tide or find some way to move a ship, a big ship, which weighs many, many thousands of pounds, probably tens of thousands of pounds, down a sandy embankment, which is not known for being easy to move ships on. So, do you have any You can just hand wave this and say, I leave it to everyone else. It's not my job. Or if you have a creative solution, you might be able to get this done in faster time. So how would you like to tackle this problem?
Well, good news. I'm a transmutation specialist wizard, and this day after the storm, I've prepared a very specific spell list.
Oh, what do you got?
I say, all right, crew, we should be able to get this ship back down in no time. And I cast Enlarge on the 5 strongest looking people, including Kura. And I cast Strength 3 times.
Wow. 5 enlarges and 3 strengths. Pinch of powdered iron. You've got in lots of it. A few hairs or a pinch of dung. Do they need to be specific hairs?
From strong animals, which I carry a bunch of as well. That's my trademark spell.
Yeah, these are easy. So 3 strengths and 5 enlarges. I think that will do it. Strength gives D8 strength to a warrior. D6 to a priest or rogue. So Kura can get the D8. These sailors will get D6s because they're more like priests or rogues for these things. Why don't you roll me a D8 for Kura? And, all right.
Wow.
Oh my God. Okay, never mind. You get the ship unbeached immediately and continue your journey. Very good. We're going to have to dole out some experience for that because that was a difficult problem that you solved immediately. Roll me a d20 for the rest of your journey. Oh. Oh, no. A 4 is not very good, sir. A 4 is bad. I mean, it's not as bad as a 3. But journeys by sea, they can be problematic. It's the next day. You get the ship unbeached. You get it floating well enough that it can, slowly be pulled and oared and pushed back into the water. And as you're floating past the Emerald Forest and the Emerald Coast, the storm has blown itself out, but it's nighttime. Where's my nighttime in the sea soundtrack? Yeah. This night, the very night after you've done this, you can hear below decks the sailors are enjoying themselves. Kura's down there with them, talking up a storm with her fellow blue-collar workers, talking about how great it is that they didn't have to spend all this time landlocked in this awkward cove away from civilization, how great it is to have a wizard aboard, how fortunate they are, good old sailor's luck. And you're on the deck of the ship. And you notice something weird. You're out in the middle of the ocean, but you hear this sound. Can you make me a wisdom check?
Yep.
It's a sound that is vaguely familiar but feels out of place. It's coming from the air around you, the sky around you, and it's a lot of it. It's sort of like a ba 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 ba, kind of off in the distance. You can't quite place it, and it's the middle of winter. It is the night between the 11th and 12th of February, so most of the moon is out. Although, actually, the moon would have been out before the sun went down. The moon is gone by now, so it's dark. No stars in the sky. No moon out. Real dark. Just a little bit of light glinting off the water coming from the torches and lanterns under the decks. Maybe a little bit. I think you can probably see some lights from Milfaldur way off in the distance, like 20 miles away, just kind of over the horizon, just a distant glow. And you hear this unusual sound. What is Vincent's response to being in the pitch black with this unusual sound?
Well, if there are are there any other crewmates up here?
Yeah. The cabin boy who has been, kicked up to keep watch and make sure that nothing is happening. Actually, the cabin boy and one person who has to be on watch. Who walks around the edge of the ship, makes sure that there's nothing happening, nothing weird someone has to be on watch all the time. So the cabin boy, someone on watch, and you. And the cabin boy's walking with the person on watch, just doing the patrol of the border.
All right. I tell the cabin boy, this could be dangerous. Go get the captain. Go get the crew.
What should I tell him?
Tell him there's something going on upstairs. There's something going on outside. We need all hands on deck.
What is it?
Something mysterious in the darkness. We just need everyone.
All right. The kid runs down. You can hear some chattering below decks. It'll take, a few minutes for people to come on up. Anything you want to do while you wait for them?
I'll tell the guy on watch, start setting up whatever light we have on the edges of the ship. Torches, lanterns. Light it up.
Day before yesterday, he would have ignored you, but you did just get the boat back in the water, and you are a great wizard. So he goes around and he starts lighting the lanterns and placing them on the mast and on the foresail and aftsail, and begins to illuminate the area. And that's when you can catch sight of this thing that's making that sound. It's a bat. It's a lot of bats. There is a swarm of bats hovering above the ship. 100 maybe, probably somewhere in the low hundreds, kind of, all around you as people begin to emerge from below decks. You said emergency, mysterious thing. People come armed. They bring sabers, they bring short swords, they bring torches, they bring nets, they bring daggers, whatever they need. And they begin to spread out.
Yeah, that's I cry out when it's clear that this is a threat, and I encourage everyone to go back down.
Everyone
hopefully,
goes back down. Except for the captain, Aurora. She comes out and looks at you and goes, "What, you thought there was a threat? What'd you think it was?"
Well, look up there. Bats.
At sea? That's weird. They say the Strait of Aemon is haunted. She looks at you. Didn't always used to be this way.
I raise my eyebrow and say, curious. Could be. Could also just be bats. So let's make sure to not have any bats just flood in our lower deck, and we should be fine.
There have been a couple of ships out here that have been found just floating with no one on them anymore. One ship with one person who was trapped himself in a box said he heard the sound of screams. I think he just went mad at sea, but she looks about a storm and then bats in the middle of winter. Maybe we should have gone the long way around.
We'll be fine. It's just bats. I respond.
Now, we put things on your character sheet after our last session. You've got your clothes, your spell components, including that special statue, your backpack, your spell book, a notebook, a writing kit. I guess you don't need the other things. Kura can carry everything else you might need.
I took off all the stuff that would weigh me down after getting that gold. And
excellent.
I basically handed it to Kura.
Excellent. Perfect. Where do you keep your spell book? Do you keep it in your backpack? Does it dangle from your waist? Is it, tucked in a blanket somewhere? Do you leave it in your cabin?
It's neatly packed, like in a special compartment in my backpack.
Okay. Do you carry your backpack when you're on deck? Or do you leave your backpack in your hammock?
I'll leave it in my hammock.
But you always travel with your spell components on your waist, just in case you need to cast a spell.
Yes.
I need you to make me a D100 roll, and you want to roll really high on this one.
Oh no. The series of questions is very concerning. I didn't roll very high.
No. You see, Gade Isle has been having some troubles in the last few years. There's no reason Vincent would know anything about this. Gade Isle used to be part of Eridon. Long ago, it was its own place. And then, during the war for Arcadia, a local man there, whose family had lived there for a long, long time, uncovered an ancient ancestor's laboratory, his writings, his necromantic writings, and fell deep into the darker side of things, and freed his island from the oppressive Eridonian rule. But now the forests there are not safe. Luckily, light is damaging to undead, and so outside of the woods during the day, the undead cannot roam, but it is night. We are in the water. I hope you have good spells memorized with what you left, because you burned all your first and second level spell slots, didn't you?
Oh, it's the same day. That's correct.
Oh no.
Good thing I have darts. That doesn't work against undead. Sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Please forgive me while I read the notes on how necromancers regenerate their life force, because I don't think it helps them to drain the life of high-level people. I just think they need lots of people, preferably young people. Consume soul. Sacrifice a target.
Consume soul.
Sacrifice a target to extend your lifespan.
Sacrifice.
Gain 1 year for every 10 years of life left in that creature's natural lifespan. Must be the same soul size or greater. Right. Right. Drain life. Oh, roll me another D100.
Yep.
Oh. Oh. Well. The bats will swarm. And then they will approach the ship at, near the water line. And they will enter in through the little portholes, which, people use to get nice fresh air. And then you hear the cries from below decks as, bats are swarming inside the ship. And then the cries begin to shift. Where do we have our mark of servitude, false death, personal sacrifice, unholy strength, hold essence? Ooh, we actually don't have a hold spell. Lesser possession, protect spirits. Yeah. A large commotion begins to arise from below decks. You can hear shouts no, at first it's cries and shouts of like, oh no, bats are in the place. But then there comes this blood-curdling scream that you know means someone has been, hurt, damaged, deeply injured. I don't know what you want to call it, but it is a blood-curdling scream that comes from under the decks. What would you like to do? You're on board with the captain, who hears this and looks at you, and her eyes go wide, and her hand goes to the saber at her side, and she begins to hurry below decks.
Yeah,
But
so
what do you do?
I'll follow behind her. I'll go see Kura, which I would imagine she's out drinking with the people, so I'll go try to find her.
Okay. We head below decks. Ships are known for being tight quarters. Uncomfortably tight, because building ships is difficult, and the narrower the ship is, the less surface area, the faster it can go. And the shorter a ship is, the lower its center of gravity, the less likely it is to tip over, and you just save on supplies. So the below decks are not great. And the waters are still, it's just after the storm. But the height is not great. It's maybe, 6 inches, maybe 8 inches of clearance above your head to the beams. And as the two of you come down the stairs, you can see that standing here is some sort of man. I need a picture of him.
Oh, no.
Ah, yes. I need just to bring this into roll 20. I'm going to show you this person. In this image, he's going to be in a chair, but he's not in a chair. Obviously, he's standing before you, but he's not wearing much. He is shirtless. He's got scars across his body. He's wearing tight leather pants, black pants, with almost knee-high boots, just below the knee-high. And his eyes are dark and wicked. He's got like long fingers that end in, nails that he's filed down so that they have like a claw-like nature to him. And these claws, one of these claws is around someone's neck, and it's clearly deep in the neck as like blood is beginning to stream down from it. And the man, this shirtless man, holding him with one hand, seems to be, I don't know how to describe it visually. It's very clear that he is absorbing this like the guy who's being held against the wall with the claws in his neck is just like shriveling, not like desiccating, but just like rolling over. His skin is beginning to wrinkle. And the man who's holding him, he doesn't look this young. He looks quite a bit older, like maybe this guy in his 40s or 50s. But as he holds this guy's neck, he seems to be de-aging a little bit. Like he's going from being 50 down to being like 43. Like the wrinkles are just popping off of him. His skin sort of smooths out. Some of the blotches begins to fade away. Yeah, I think it's an appropriate time to roll initiative.
Does my, have I ever learned about such a creature in school?
Well, there are many undead that consume the lifespan of people. They come in many forms. The scariest of these forms is what people would call a vampire. But vampires like drink, bite people, and this person's not biting them. Then again, the things you learn in schools are not always 100% accurate.
All right. Is Kura here to roll in with her quarter stuff?
Kura is here, yes. I need to open another Roll20 instance.
Even do I know if old person would work on someone that has the quality of undead? He kind of looks like human.
Technically undead, like a true undead, like a zombie or a skeleton or a ghost, undead would not work on.
All right, well, looks human to me.
Yes. Why do I only have an old version of this character sheet? Oh, I don't. Oh, perfect. Okay.
I crit twice.
That's not good. You want low.
I know.
Oh, buddy. Where is my... That's close to shirtless. Ah, here we go. Perfect. Astical far east. Let's just move this over here. This we had rolled in at a 7. Okay, and now we just need a few sailors. And Aurora. Please forgive the setup time. This is a random and unexpected encounter. This is going to be Aurora. And this is going to be Sailor. All right, roll bulk macro. Here we go. And let's get Vincent and Kura. Not everyone is to scale, but that's okay. Scale us down. All right, and I'm going to draw us a quick boat so we have some semblance of a battle map here. Let's see. Here's our wall. Here's our galley. There's a door there, a door here. This. All right. So our boat, crudely drawn as it may be, just walk us through it real quick. Like, this is the area in which we're going to be fighting. This over here is the kitchen area. It does have a door that seals it off. This would be like the front storage area. This main hold here is where all of the marble and stuff is going to go. Currently, there's nothing in here. It's a little unusual to take such a long voyage without having some level of goods, but this is an important thing. It needed to be done quickly more than efficiently, so it's actually empty and people can hang and have tables. This is the captain's quarters back here. This staircase goes up to the top of the ship, and this staircase goes down to the next level below the ship. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's position our people then. And is this right? We can get... Yeah, we can get maybe 5 people across. Perfect. It should probably be a little bit longer. There we go.
What an
Excellent.
artiste.
Yes. Yes. So we're going to see our shirtless friend, large shirtless friend apparently, over here holding a sailor against the wall with his bare hands. And it is this sailor. They've all sort of backed up in a way, and you're over here, and Kura's down here, and everyone's sort of backed off away from this guy. There's a couple of tables in the room, but we can ignore them. They can just be tossed around.
Yeah.
This sailor, surprised, grabs, a stein of ale from nearby and comes over to attack this dude with a d20 plus 2 to hit for back attack. And that's a 15. And that will... I do believe that will actually hit this guy. Lifespan, spiritual weapon, withering touch. Corpse Whisper, false death, personal... Yep. That will hit him for 1d4 damage. All right, we needed to put up his HP. You had rolled an 86 on the percentile. He's at... Great, and he'll take minus d4 damage. -3.
Nice.
You'll
Way to
hit
go,
him for
sailor.
3. Yeah. And our friend over here, this strange person, finishes off his target, turns around, which is life. Each doubling the camera. Can decay living matter at a touch. Ah, right. Okay. So he's going to make himself an attack roll at plus... I want to say +4? Sorry, this is taking me just a moment to get our stuff together. Bonus to hit. Wizard Thaco. Level 8. Auto stattered up PHP. What is the bonus to hit for? It's not great. That's what it is. But it's good enough to hit this sailor, because this guy's just dropped to the ground unconscious, probably dead. But over here, he'll turn around, and his hand takes on this, it's got these long claws. It takes on an unnatural color, and he will do 5 damage, which instantly kills this sailor who had 2 HP.
Oof.
Yeah, the sailor just instantly withers into the ground. And it's not like a claw attack against his body. His body hasn't been ripped open. He's been just like touched, but you can see the spot where he has been touched just withers away into like old decayed flesh, and quickly the smell of rotting flesh fills the air. The things that the Akubans must be thinking of you gather everywhere.
Wow.
And the man looks around at everyone, smiles, and just says, "Flee." Captain Aurora, not one to flee from a fight, takes her saber, runs towards the guy, and makes her attack, but she's not a great fighter, you know? It's a 3. It's a wild miss. Next sailor is also going to come up, and he is going to attempt a just a tackle to the ground with a great hit and an opposed strength check of 1d20 plus 3d6. A 13 will not knock the guy, but he does wrap his arms around the tall, shirtless man, leaving this sailor to make himself the morale check. 2d10. He wants low. He's gonna bulk and back up, and he'll say, "It's him! It's the vampire!" Which causes this guy to make a morale check, because there are rumors, and you know how superstitious sailors are. And Kura, who is not superstitious of anything. She's not seen any of this nonsense. Now let's use her tokens. Well,
just like any old man, she cries out and charges in with her quarterstaff.
I think that's right. And she will roll an 11 to hit for 6 damage and wound the guy.
Oh.
Leaving us with this sailor. Now, a couple of his people have fled, so a penalty on his morale. He also bulks and runs into the kitchen, and leaving us with Vincent.
All right, it's at this point where I cast my level 3 spell, which I hope will work. It's Hold the Person.
Excellent. His saving throw comes up. Where is his... Where is... Excellent. Yes. You cast Hold Person. And he turns to look at you, and his head tilts to the side to regard you, ignoring the person who just like smashed him across the face with a quarterstaff. He seems pretty unfazed by that quarterstaff, and then points a finger at you, ignoring the person who's beating him with the heavy stick. Who's up next? It's another sailor.
Wait a second. Does that mean he seemed unaffected?
He seemed completely unaffected. Oh, that's a dead sailor. And that's a dead sailor.
All right. Well, seeing him point at me, I'll ask, what is it that you've come here to do?
To feast, he says, as we roll round initiative for next round.
Well, I remarked back, it wouldn't do you much good to kill these people if you want to eat them, right?
I'm not feasting on their flesh. I'm feasting on their souls.
Well, that one, did you even feast on his soul? I point towards the one he, basically withered away.
If he gave up, I wouldn't have done that. So surrender.
Okay, we surrender.
Kura looks at you like a madman. The captain takes a moment to step back and throw you a look of you're surrendering to this person who's just invaded our ship.
I look at the wound he took from that quarterstaff hit. Did it seem to register? I can't see his bar at all.
It was a pretty good blow. It was 6 damage. It would kill almost any normal person. It did move his HP bar a little, but he also didn't seem to care that much about it.
Yes, we surrender, I comment back.
Good.
But we have to establish some terms. How many did you want to drain?
Until I am full.
Can you give a more specific number? I think we have a little wiggle room, but we can't have you draining too many.
the lives of 3 young men. And he points to the cabin boy who's come down. I'll start with him.
Well, since we won't be putting up any fight, there's more spells I could be throwing at you. Let's negotiate to that one and one other, not the captain, I say. I gesture at the captain.
The captain is slack-jawed, stunned into silence. She's young. She's 19.
Yeah.
She's a young man by this categorization we're using for soul size here. It's exactly who he'd want to feast on.
Yes, that's why I cut him off. Not that one.
We need to check a spell that he has, because you are the most interesting person he's ever come across. Where is... there it is. What is your name, amateur wizard?
My name is Vincent Mapper. I regret to let you know that indeed I do not feel up to the task of defeating you, thus the quick surrender.
I have other matters to attend to this evening, but I would like to know you more. I will take your men's lives, if I may leave my mark upon your flesh.
What does that entail?
My wraiths will not attack you upon sight, and if I need you, I can send one to find you and call upon you.
I am going to see if my wizard school training has let me know what this means, if he's on the level here.
What does that mean? Are you rolling a die, or are you...
Have I ever learned about undead placing marks on people? Like, is this a vampire?
Well, undead are usually pretty mindless creatures. They're pretty dumb. This person is clearly well in control of their own facilities. So, according to your knowledge, he's either some sort of weird necromancer, which is possible. There's a lot of magic in the world. No one knows everything. There's a lot that's still unknown in this region. He could be a lich, which would make him extremely powerful and someone who could do basically anything, who would have been like a former wizard who then sought out being undead for further power and is now just like an evil undead monster. Could be. Liches are this thing of legends, but also so are dragons, and you talked to a dragon like 20 days ago in a queen's chamber, so not impossible. He could be some sort of like extraplanar creature from another dimension that has been trapped here. He could also be like an illusionist or any sort of, phantasmal wielder who is just pretending to be this powerful creature to fuck with people for funsies or as some other means.
Yes, I've probably, as a wizard, I've probably heard of a mark spell that can be used to locate someone.
Not really. Locating people is one of the hardest things to do in Magic. You can usually like have a locate person or locate object spell, but it just tells you if the thing you're looking for is within like 120 feet of you, and then you have to like change direction to look at it. There are a couple of dedicated divination spells out there. Locate Landmark is a mid-level spell that does like a general slight mind reading of everybody in the area, and if there's a broad consensus on the direction something is, it'll kind of point you in that direction.
Yes, that's usually on my spell list.
Yeah, locating individual people at great range is something. That's the thing that the King of Flowers it wants from Akuba. They have a method of tracking wizards, and it's something that no one else knows how to do, and it's one of their closely guarded secrets. This guy is seemingly able to do it on his own without being a mighty kingdom. So you don't know what this is. There's a spell called Beacon and Locate Beacon where you would enchant an object, and then if you are casting Detect Magic, you increase the range of Detect Magic by 100-fold to look for that specific thing. And then there's another spell that works with that beacon spell where if you've got a map, you can find the beacon, but you can't beacon a person. You can only beacon an object. So...
Yeah. Okay, cool. So all that goes into... That runs through my mind in like the span of a second as I panic and make a decision, and I let him know. That sounds like a pretty big favor. Are you willing to place your mark on me and not kill any further crewmates?
No.
All right. How about just
thirsty.
the cabin boy then? Just the cabin boy, and you get the mark.
He pauses to consider. While he pauses, Kura is going to back off, right? There's other things happening. These sailors are backing off. The captain backs off and turns and levels her sword at you and says, I'm not surrendering a single one of my people to this monster. Who do you think you are? These other sailors have fled and are now up top or down below. Only 2 remain in the room.
I desperately crowd to Aurora. Look, we're far outmatched. If we lose just one man, you should consider ourselves lucky.
The strange necromantic person says, the cabin boy and this one, and you all get to live. That's a very good trade. But I will give you something else. I will give you something to sweeten the deal. I will ensure your ship passes safely through this strait from now on. I will give you immunity to my storms.
I look towards Aurora and try to gauge her reaction, and I kind of nod alongside with him. I whisper to Aurora, that's a really good deal.
Pretty quickly, the man comes up to the sailor. Goes to grab at him. The sailor, ducks away and starts to scramble backwards. And the necromancer, vampire, lich, whatever you want to call him, enjoying the hunt, sort of just stalks after him, leaving his flanks exposed to wizard and sailor and captain, sailor, and wizard. And this guy runs. The wizard chases after him.
Stand down, I tell her. Don't do anything dumb.
Grabs the sailor from the back and will siphon his soul. Which is, I think that is a more effective than just drain life. I think he can probably get away. Twice as effective as Vampiric Touch, producing 2 points of spiritual force for every 10 years of life left in the creature. Oh, excellent. Yeah. He will go and drain this person's life, drain his soul, and you can see the necromancer person visibly de-aging before you. Finds the cabin boy who's in the kitchen, drains the cabin boy's life, and then walks up to the deck. And I do believe he can just turn himself back into a bat. The swarm of bats is still out there. Oh, wait, no. He has to leave his mark on you. Perfect.
Oh, yes.
He'll tell you, I normally leave my mark on someone's wrist so that they are easy to spot. But you are outside my kingdom, and it would not serve you well to be marked like that. So show me your back.
Very, very wise of you, I say as I take off my clothes and show him my back. I lean forward a bit to give him a better angle.
Excellent. A permanent mark is made on a willing subject. Undead under the caster's control will not automatically attack those with the mark. This is going to be... A brand, a tattoo, scarring, or other permanent form of marking the skin. So this is going to be some scarring. The mark is a direct symbol of the caster's life. Their mark, once chosen, cannot be changed. Ooh, I don't remember what Malsifer's mark is. He will mark you. His mark is diagonal lines that go back and forth. Yes. All right, so he'll take his claws and he'll carve a line that goes down and back and down and back, and then an opposite line that goes the other way. So you've got like kind of two interlocking zigzags that run down your spine between your shoulder blades. And then he'll turn into a bat and take off, leaving you and the rest of the crew, enough people to still operate the ship, alive and well, and free from any further dangers. And as soon as he and the other bats are gone, the rest of the crew will gather together and look at you in horror, including Kura.
Yes. Was the marking process very painful? Or just a little bit painful?
Well, you ever been like scratched badly by a cat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that, and it lasts for a little bit longer. Like, it's painful, but you're not in agony. But it's, it was
okay.
It was unpleasant. It was very unpleasant.
I'll have had my back towards them at the time, and I gritted my teeth and tried to bear through the pain. It's bearable. But as soon as he leaves and the people start showing up, I will play it up and I will scream in agony like I'm dying.
Oh, you're suffering. Oh. Yeah. The crew very quickly says to the captain, "This man's a monster. How could we? This is exactly the sort. This is why we shouldn't be working with Lord Marshall. Come on, Captain. We've got to get rid of him." And the captain will shake her head and be like, "Are you kidding? Did you see what he's just done? No. Let's be done with this mission as quickly as possible. I don't ever want to have to see these people again." And this is all in Eridonian, which you speak. So Kura has no idea what's happening here. All of this was in Eridonian. She just kind of noticed that the combat had stopped and wisely backed off. And then they point to the cabin boy and they look what they did to little Jimmy. He's just a rag of skin and bones. And the captain shakes her head and says, "Throw him overboard." And then looks to the rest of I don't ever want to talk about this ever again. If anyone asks what happened to them, you say they died in the storm. You hear me? No one speak of this. If anyone ever hears about this, you know what they're going to say about us? You know how this... Truth be damned. If this is known, we'll be cast out. We'll be cursed. We'll be hung. Or worse, we'll be abducted by the King of Flowers, never to be seen from again. These men died at night in the storm. The wizard made people large and strong and pushed us back into the sea, and that's the end of it. And bodies are thrown overboard, and the rest of your voyage is very, very quiet. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get to... Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rise of Drekis. We have made our way all the way to Pike's Point without further problems. Nice and safe.
Could I get the name of that mark to write it down?
Mark of Servitude.
Okay, Mark of Servitude. Did he give his name?
Malsifer Winter.
Okay, very good. During the rest of the trip, I try my best to convince Kura that that was necessary and the best course of action.
How would you do that? I just DM'd you what the mark looks like, except it's not, it's marks in your flesh, so it's not black and red.
Yeah. Kura,
yeah.
You hit that man yourself. You know that he was completely unaffected by it. we would have all died. This was the best we could have done.
Is this why you were asking about haste spells?
Haste wouldn't have saved us there, but yes, at one point we may find an enemy less powerful than him, but one that will need haste on.
Lord Marshall didn't tell me about this. He didn't say nothing about Batmen in the night who drain little boys of their life and you know, feast on people like that. He didn't say nothing about storms? He didn't say nothing about any of this.
I get a feeling we were just really, really unlucky. We probably won't find anything quite like him in the future.
Well, I appreciate you keeping me alive. What did you say to him? It was all in, you know, that Eastern speak.
Oh, was that man saying Eridonian? Speaking in Eridonian?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
Well, I just yeah, you talked to him and he stopped. And then there was some pointing and then some killing, but you just and then I left. What I could tell you said something, but what'd you say?
Yeah, he was going to kill a lot more than just those two, but I haggled him down to just two. And having him place this mark on me.
What is it?
From what he told me, just a way for him to track me down if he needs anything.
She looks scared. Can I see it?
Sure. I let her see it.
Right. You show the back and she kind of looks at it and kind of gives you a poke at the slight welting marks on your back. That doesn't hurt more than, you know, a nasty scratch on your back would. Just a little bit of, you know, swollen sensitivity. That's some scratch he did. Well, this allows him to find you?
That's what he said.
Why'd you want him to find you? She'll let you, you know, put your shirt back on.
I didn't want him to, but it saved many crew members.
Well, why'd he want to find you?
I think he found me amusing somehow. He might have need for a wizard. Who knows?
Oh, man. I missed the mountain. None of this nonsense on that mountain. Just wind and the occasional kobold, the rare orc, you know. Some loity-toity, hoity-boity who's carrying a big instrument up a mountain. Back-breaking work, but at least it's straightforward. No one ever asked to tattoo me.
I'm glad that you have roots in such honest work. Hopefully that's all I'll need you for moving forward as well.
Nods. All right, well, it better not get any worse than this.
I can't imagine it getting worse than that. Let's enjoy our vacation in Pikes Point.
Okay. We get to Pikes Point. Lovely city. So sweet. So peaceful. You show up on the boat. Your crew speaks Eridonian. Everyone here who does speak Eridonian hears the accent and they're fine with it. They don't really care. You can pop off. You speak mystery and you speak Kuban. You speak everything, I think. Right?
A lot of the main languages, yeah.
Yeah, you're a very well-educated individual. Where is our bustling city? Ah, perfect. Excellent. So, the ship arrives. Everyone gets off. Captain Aurora comes to you. This is typically where you'd shake someone's hand after a long voyage, but she doesn't offer hers.
I offer her mine.
Yeah. She looks at it and goes, I think you might have saved our lives back there, but I don't like the way you did it. And she'll begrudgingly take your hand.
I shake it and say, you don't need to. I did what I needed to ensure the safety of the most people.
when you talk to Lord Marshall, you tell him we did good, okay? I don't want any bad reviews on my record.
That's right. Same to you. And who knows if there's any bright side to this story? You apparently won't have much trouble going through that place again. I give her a weak smile.
She shakes her head like, I guess, but oh my god. And heads off into town. No, she will have to pick up the cargo, whatever deal you make. So you'll have to talk to her again. But you get the distinct impression she'd rather not. But yeah, here you are, Pike's Point. Trouble's behind you. Fortune's ahead. What to do now?
Nice. I'll go seek out Samir.
Yeah, you can find him. You remember the way through the back alleys back to Samir's little shop. There's the door, and inside of it, once you knock on it, you're greeted by his 4 bodyguards and their clubs, and they see you and they'll say in a Cuban, it's the Flesh Man again. Come in.
Yes, hello. And I kind of ask the Flesh Man as I walk in with Kura.
Just a nickname. Think nothing of it. You're a man with, large muscles, lots of flesh. It might not translate well to your native tongue.
Thank you.
Where's the handsome one?
Unfortunately, I had to get new help.
They turn to her and, try to speak to her, and she looks to them and looks to you and clearly doesn't understand. And the bodyguards will say, does she not speak the local language?
No, she does not. I say, this is Kura. And I introduce Kura. And I tell Kura the names of these 4, but I don't they don't speak Drekisian.
She grunts. Well, I'll get you. I'll let Samir know you're here. And 10 minutes later, you're back in Samir's office, just the two of you. He looks pleased to see you. He's got a bowl of dried dates before you and a glass of wine for each of you. My friend, Vincent, it's good of you to come again.
Yeah, so good to see you in such good health.
And you as well. Tell me, how have things gone back in Wicthron Marenta? Was Lord Marshall pleased with our arrangement? Did he enjoy my gift?
I have good news. Lord Marshall was very pleased, and I'm here to place our first order. I'll drop the bag of opals. Was this our only shopping list trip?
Yes, it was. It was just a large purchase of marble.
Yep. This is for the agreed upon price of the marble. We will be looking for a variety. He appreciated these particular types very much.
I think we can accommodate these purchases, he says, like rolling out the opals. Of course, have to have my man come and inspect these, make sure they are as they seem to be, but assuming all is as it appears, we can have the marble, the slabs loaded on your hold within a few days.
Of course, and there's just one more thing attached to this.
A complication? I hope not.
Hopefully not too complicated for a man of your talents. We are looking for a way to head to Sandashar and to talk to the people in charge about tracking down an Akuban wizard. About information about an Akuban wizard. The Idrea I talked to you earlier about.
You want to go to Sandashar and
Yes.
speak to the men who track wizards, while you yourself are a wizard. Yes?
Yes.
Are you not worried they may take your blood and track you too?
I don't see how that would be a problem.
You're not worried they may have some problems? This is all fine? It sounds very dangerous to me.
It sounds dangerous to me as well, but we have no other choice. How else am I to learn about this man?
Shazar is the man in charge of these things. Pauses. He is, he taps his fingers. I do not have the pleasure of knowing him. He is the head of the Shazar family. Around here, there are 12 families that each have a facet of society that they run. The Shazar do magic, the Baladin do faith, the Stone Song do commerce, the Gildarin do the treasury, the Amari are in charge of livestock, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Shazar family, they have a head in every city, including here in Pike's Point. I could get you a meeting with the man here in Pike's Point. But you want to speak to the one in Sandashar, the head, the Mr. Moak himself, who does the tracking? It sounds, no offense, but they're not big fans of Drekisians and not big fans of unregistered spellcasters.
I'll just have to win them over with my winning smile, then.
Okay.
But first things first, I would appreciate a meeting with the one here in Pike's Point.
Pike's Point. His name is Pod Shazar. I can arrange this meeting. I will need some time, but I can make this happen.
Very good. Thank you very much, my friend.
Nods. After opals are traded and cargo is loaded, I will make sure. Yes. Today is March 3rd. And it will take a few days for everything to be set up. So it won't be until March 6th that you can meet with Pod. All right.
Earlier than I expected. You work fast, my friend.
Well, Samir knows everyone, and everyone loves Samir. Samir is a good man. I'm gonna need you to shell out probably 3, 2, 4, 6 gold for living expenses in the meantime.
6 gold. Yes. Okay.
6 gold, yes, for room and board and food and blah 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 blah, all the things that come up.
Yep.
And let's just open up a randomizer for Pod. Excellent. All right. The year is 1522. Pod was born in 1457. He is 65 years old. And you're going to be warned ahead of time that Pod is, how do we say this? The way it gets told to you is like this. Is that there was this civil war. It was not a good time. Pike's Point is so far away from everything. Pike's Point and Yatel so far on the edges that much of the war did not touch us here. Pod grew used to being the big man. During the war, the families were split. Pod, much older than Moke, grew used to being in charge. And now that he is once again just the low man on the totem pole, the man in charge of a small, out-of-the-way town for the Shazar family, he's not so happy. He is he's not like Samir. Samir is nice. Samir is friendly. Samir is happy. Pod is rude. He worships Tempos, the god of time, and his time is coming close. He is 65 years old, and he is still in charge of magic in Pike's Point. This is not the life he had hoped. He is not a spellcaster. His wife is dead. His children hate him. Probably because he's a rude man. So, just be warned. Okay.
I nod. I know exactly how to deal with those types of people.
Good.
I
Good.
respond.
Yes. You will do well.
Thank you.
And, yeah. We can go speak with Pod. Pod the Rude Shazar. You're going to be meeting in what we might call like a small palace. It's a lovely building made out of marble with a large fountain in like this little atrium area, tall walls, tall ceilings with columns to kind of keep the sunlight off of the buildings, off the main walls of the buildings to kind of keep everything cool. Some palm trees growing around the little fountain, some grasses. There are servants about, but not as much family as you might expect. In this area, and back home, your palace has lots of family around. Your cousins, your kids, your parents. If you have a palace, you try to keep your family in it. And this place feels just a little sparse. There are soldiers, guards, really, at the front of the palace. There's a gate that blocks off the walls. The outsides are marble as well, smooth. Like there's no way anyone could ever climb up the walls because they're perfectly flat, smooth marble. They are sort of white with the black streaks running through them. The gate itself is made out of brass. There's 4 soldiers who hang out on the inside, and the gate is closed. Normally, most places, they leave their gate open, and if you've got guards, the guards are there for that. The Shazar family, or at least this guy, seems a little bit more on the suspicious side, with those expensive but slick marble walls and a closed gate with guards on it. And you'll notice in front of the gate, the sand is raked. This is a low-tech way of dealing with invisible people, because you still leave footsteps if you're invisible. Oh. So if you have fine sand and you rake it almost like a Zen garden, you'll be able to tell if someone, like an invisible person's walking up to your gate. And so these guards have, some rakes nearby that they can rake the sand as people come in and out, and they just keep re-raking it over and over again. So Samir brings you to the gate. He'll say to the guards at the gate, like, "This is the man I told you about. He's here to meet with Pod." The guards will welcome you in. Samir will leave you at the gate. And as he leaves, you'll notice the guards go back out and they rake the sand very carefully, very, very practically, and then lead you in to speak with Pod. Pod is...
Sounds like Kura will hang out with Samir and gang.
Oh, I forgot about her. She can come with you. She can stay, whatever you want.
I'll have her hang out with Samir.
Okay. She hangs with Samir.
Yep.
You head into the palace. It's not huge. The room in which Pod is seated has marble floors, a couple of like large fans manned by servants, maybe slaves, but probably servants, who are pulling on ropes which will lift and lower the fans, keeping the area nice and cool. There is a call it like it's like a waterfall, but it's been intentionally like disrupted, so it kind of like the water that falls out of it is more of like flecks of drops rather than a perfect sheet of water that runs next to him. And there's a person who is like collecting water from the bottom in a vase and then going on this little staircase and pouring it back into the container at the top, so that there's just like a constant rotation of water. But that means that someone has to constantly be refilling it, and it's not a lot. It's just a very gentle trickle of water just to add some humidity and some evaporation into the area to keep it nice and cool. Yeah. And there's a spot before you, a comfortable, gentle chair. It's just, crossed legs with a piece of fabric in between them for you to sit, and a small silver tray with, what do you call them? Like honeyed carrots sitting on them, and a silver goblet with clear fresh water in it, and a silver pitcher for you to pour yourself more. And Pod, this slender man in his 60s, well, maybe he was slender in his youth. He's about average weight now. Will just sit in his nice gilded chair as you take a seat or stand.
I don't sit yet. As I come in, I don't know the proper etiquette here, but I decide to lay on the overkill, and I will basically do one of those full body bows on the ground.
Oh.
And I greet him by saying, "Mighty Pod Shazar, I have come from faraway lands in order to seek only what you can do."
He sits back. What do you seek from humble Pod Shazar?
I raise my head slightly still on the ground and I say, "I am seeking information about an Akuban wizard, I believe. And you are the only one I can contact to find out information about him."
Why would Drekisian cast-offs be seeking information from me? Do we not look like dogs to you?
Oh no. I happen to be someone who believes that we could work together, and hopefully this will be the first step.
And you want something from me, yes? You want my might, my strength, my knowledge? You come asking for things, but you do not come bearing gifts? This is a one-way exchange for you, right? Drekis always taking, never giving?
I realize, as he's saying that, I probably would have thought of this. Can I have kept a novel?
I don't know. We've had a lot of gift giving thus far. I think we've forgotten a gift.
Oh, that's true. I will say I apologize. I was not aware of the. I did not know what the mighty Shazar family would desire. We haven't gotten to know each other well yet, and I did not want to give an inappropriate gift.
That's not a bad answer. He nods. Well, you come seeking information about a wizard? An Akuban wizard?
Yes.
Who is this wizard, and what has he done to incur your ire? Or your interest?
Yes, I would say more of my interest. His name is Idrea. I look at his face to see if that rings a bell, if he gives any visible reaction.
Why don't you give me a charisma check?
The Riz.
19. You're not entirely certain. He's not, keeping a straight stone face. He's kind of glancing behind you at things. You say something, his eyes flick back to you. It's not 100% clear if he's reacting to that name or if he's just, gazing at you and looking around. Idria. And why is Idria of interest to you, whoever he is?
It is because I have been... He's someone I may have to tolerate working with in the future. And I do not... I've been told to find out as much as I can about him. So my master beseeches, so I follow.
Mm-hmm. And you have come to the mighty Shazar family because even though Drekis now owns most of Arcadia, you still cannot find a wizard. You still do not know things. Is that the case?
We know where he is, I say. We just want information about him. His history, his past. Who he is.
And why would I do this thing for you? Knowledge is power. Why would I give it up?
A favor for a favor. Ask what you can of me. I hold some sway in Drekis. I can help you out.
What makes you think I need a favor from some small man who does not even know what gift to bring? I am Pod Shazar. I am the head of the Shazar family, rulers of magic in the greatest city on earth, Pike's Point. What do you have that I could possibly want?
I nod, I look around. Surely, this is a magnificent city and a magnificent palace of yours. I find it likely that a few years ago, you have found your food starting to taste more delicious as spices came in. Is this true?
I did hire a better cook.
Not just that, but you may have found yourself being exposed to wondrous spices that you have not gotten to experience in the past. I would like to continue that. That is but one of the things that I can offer.
You're telling me that things will stay just the same if I work with you.
Yes.
And if I don't, will you change them?
If you don't, I fear that we may have no choice but to go down a route that may disrupt the spices.
You, little man before me, can take the vanilla from my house.
For someone as great as you, you will probably be able to find the vanilla. But it will be more expensive and more difficult.
What is expense to Pod Shazar? Look at my marble. Look at my waterfall.
It is
Look
magnificent.
at my home. It burns outside, yet in here it is pleasant and cool.
I know this. This is why I've come to you, Shazar, and why I did not go to Shazar.
He scowls when you say that, but then reconsiders. Roll me another charisma check here. You're 25 versus... Or is it that you do not go to Mok because Sandashar is far away and dangerous, and you are afraid of what happens in the Viper's Den?
I'm not afraid. That was planned to be my next trip if you, the mighty Shazar, were not able to help or not able to give me everything that I needed to know. But I come to you first.
So I look into this man named Idria. I write to the great repository, the great pit. I pull records. My people toil in darkness by lamplight, finding names, sorting histories, and I bring this knowledge to you on a silver platter. Also, I spend a little less money on vanilla and cloves. Also...
No. Surely not. What is it that you seek? I would be happy to help.
I have everything I want. I am a king among men. Look at my life. If there was something I needed, I but need snap my fingers and I have it. Can you get me a flying carpet? Can you bring me a pet dragon? No. Can you create a woman who loves me and serves my every need with a smile upon her face year in and year out?
I would think that there would be so many of those.
You are just another small man come to suckle upon the teat of the great Shazar. You offer nothing other than vague promises as of, things will be easier, things will not change, maybe I can do something, but you offer nothing.
I do not offer nothing. I just do not know what you want. Is it that you... It seems like you have everything, so I could promise you more gold, but I do not know how much you want. I have come on a trip with merchants, and we do trade. Perhaps Pike's Point, its prestige would be raised if my diplomatic mission succeeds. You would be credited as part of the efforts. If someday Drekis and your kingdom were to have better relations.
Okay. There is something I want. Something out of my reach. And if you are the man you pretend to be, this should be easy for you.
Yes, what can I do for you?
I would like 3 hairs of your empress and your king.
All right, I definitely know in wizarding school we learned about what these hairs could be used for.
A lot of things. A sample of a person is like a connection to a person. And these people are known for their ability to track folks. And no one knows quite how it's done. Often the word like blood magic is thrown around, but also like there's a certain amount of, anti-Akuban racism that might lead you to use that phrase. Blood is typically more important than hairs, but hairs are still your strength spell requires the hair of a strong creature. So the essence of someone is useful. Having, the hair of a person, it would be like a component in Speak with Dead. You might need like the hair of someone, of the dead person. So it does. I'm not sure exactly what they could do with the hair, but it would allow for some level of connection or contact, or maybe magical probing of some vague kind, but maybe not until after they're dead. Or maybe this is how they track spellcasters, and with these hairs they could like track where Imric is or where the Empress is. It's not 100% clear, but it does seem like a tool that you would use to keep tabs on someone, or it's typically not the sort of thing you want to give up.
Yeah, I'll play this game and say, while it is beyond my power to be able to get those people's hairs, perhaps if you aimed a little further down the chain, I could accomplish that.
Scale of your dragon pet, or hair of her from her human form.
Lower than that, too. I keep haggling. Of course, I would gladly offer up my own hair, but I may be too far down the chain to your liking.
Pod thinks. Drekisians die so often, it's hard to know who else is left. Who else is worth knowing? Tell me, who is your master?
I think about if I can give him that, and let's say sure. My master is Lord Richard Marshall. I don't know if you have heard of him. He is part of the nobility of Drekis. He has many connections.
I have heard of this man, Lord Marshall. He is the one whose son went to Caledonia. He is the one who has gone from minor noble to left hand of the queen. He's become very powerful in a very short time. Gained lost treasures from a continent far away. He's responsible for the death of my nephew.
Oh, how unfortunate.
Yes. You bring this man in front of me. You get him to bow to me as you did, apologize for the death of my nephew, and ask me what he can do for me. You will have your information of... What was the name?
Idrea.
Idrea.
I give him a... Well, I don't give it yet.
Does this sound like a good deal?
You, I know that... Well, let's see. So, you ask him to just come here and apologize, and will you do... Will you ask...
bow like you bowed.
Yes.
Yes.
And naturally, will there be anything else that follows that, or will we then just be on our way?
When he does this thing, and he asks what he can do for me, I will tell him what he can do for me. And then, and only then, will I find out about this Idria. He seems deeply satisfied with himself, like uncomfortably, smugly satisfied.
Can you let me know what you have Lord Marshall prepared to do? He would probably be more capable of doing so if he had a plan, and travel takes a while. And while doing this, could you find the information out so you have it ready when he comes?
I think your Richard is a coward, and he will not come. I think he is afraid, and he will avoid us. So I will not do the work, because I know he will not come. I know this is more falsehoods, more half-truths and half-lies from Drekisians who, and he starts like looking around at other things, like picking up dates and chewing on them and spitting out their seeds. I think he is the sort of man who would offer everything one could wish, and the moment I show up to collect, oh, sad story, inconvenient, no longer available, many apologies, goodbye. I think you are all liars.
Well,
But you bring him here. You show me I am wrong. We'll make a special deal.
I think I may be able to do that part, but the unknown of what you will task to him is the thing that would create quite a journey. You ask me to bring him all the way here
Yes.
for you to give him a task, but
Yes.
the task is unknown.
Yes. You ask a great thing from me. You ask so much from me. You ask me to do what you can never do. Something beyond your capability. You ask for a great favor from Pod Shazar. I ask you, make the request in person. Small thing. We see eye to eye. I look at you, you look at me. We have a trade. It's very small thing to come and ask for what you want in person. It's very small. Only basic politeness.
I nod. Very well, Podshazar. I will bring this Lord Marshal to you. I hope you will have well prepared everything you would like from him when he arrives.
Good. Is there something else?
I ask, I try to make this as inoffensive as possible, but of course, I find my master quite dear to me. Do you promise me that after I bring him here, the two of us will be able to leave this city and enjoy our trip back?
What are you saying? Are you saying that I am calling him here to kill him?
No, I am not saying that.
Then why would you make such a request?
I am going to try to get a gauge on if he might actually come, or if this is beneath him, if he's far above that.
Right. So I've got this little handy dandy table here where we do truth and lies checks. It's got tables for if one person's lying, if they're telling the truth, and an extra set of tables for if one person's suspicious or not suspicious. And the results are truth, lie, or unsure, right? So we've got a mechanism in place to determine this. Before we roll on it, depending on how rolls go, and you're not going to know what he rolls, but you will know what you roll. Even if someone is telling the truth, it's possible to perceive them as a lie, especially if you're suspicious, right? If you're a suspicious person, you might misread someone or, change the nature of how you're reading. So usually in a interrogation where you're trying to figure out if someone's telling the truth or not, you might try to get multiple reads on them. This is our first time reading whether or not you think he might be trying to hurt you or Lord mMarshall. So you are suspicious of his truthfulness. He has indicated vaguely that he wouldn't hurt someone, or at least he dodged the question. So why don't you make me a charisma check? I will have him make a check, and I'll tell you what you think his results are.
Sure.
You have rolled a 31. You think that maybe he wants to hurt Lord mMarshall. He did say that Lord mMarshall's responsible for the death of his nephew. Not a deep relationship, and he doesn't have a lot of family around anymore, so he might not actually care about that nephew. But you are definitely getting vibes of like he might want to just bring mMarshall here to hurt him or kill him or imprison him or who knows what. Would you like to try and find a way to make another check, which would just be through more conversation, if you can manage to move the conversation forward? Or is this good enough for you?
I do not want to incur his wrath, so I don't want to press the matter further.
Okay.
I think about the trip back and the trip forward. If we were to take the direct way, how long would that take?
Ooh. Let's see. From Pike's Point to Kershwick, 182 miles. I have 3-4 days. About 3 days.
Oh, that's not nearly as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you, I mean, you also have to go Wickthron Rorenta to Kershwick, so that's a little bit longer. Probably 6 days door to door from Wickthron Rorenta to this guy's house, but 3 days on boat. So, whatever that means.
Okay. Am I aware? I probably am as a cartographer. Of how long would be to go from Pike's Point to say Sandashire?
Yeah, you can go roughly 60 miles a day on a decent boat, weather and other things permitting. So that's probably a day and a half, 2-day journey, typically. Well, hold on. We do have to stay within sight of shore, so it's not quite the same as how the eagle flies.
Right.
So we would go around here like this. What's this distance here? That's probably too far. You might actually cross here and then come on over. So 152 miles divided by 3 days.
Okay. I've worked with Lord mMarshall for some time. I get the sense that he likes me and trusts me to some extent. And I've probably figured out his character. Do I think that he would accept such a request?
Well, if mMarshall thinks that he's in danger, if he thinks this might be a dangerous journey, definitely not. No way in hell. If he thinks it's safe, that's hard to know. let's see. Why don't you give me your very best charisma check? I'll even give it to you at advantage because you've been working with him for a few sessions, campaigns now. Let's see how much you can get off of this guy.
All right. My current best guess is that Marshall will face a injury, but not death, on whether or not he would, if he can.
Ooh, a 30 and a 20. Yeah. So what you've noticed about this guy is that he is crafty, but he always gets someone else to do his work for him. He got his son-in-law to go on this big adventure that made him famous. He gets you to talk to the queen. He didn't give the report to the queen. He had you give the report to the queen. So that way, if she didn't like it, it was coming from you. And if she did like it, he could step in and be like, this is my guy, Vincent. Look how great he is. He's my man, which he kind of did. He's one to defer risk onto others and defer responsibility onto others. He's more of a power broker than, a power dealer, if that, or, a power wielder, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. As I'm about to get up, basically agreeing to the deal, I pause for a moment and sit as I realize something. And I tell him, wait, no, you are right. He is too much of a coward to come himself.
Ha! I knew it.
So I'm afraid I am unable to offer you that.
Oh, this warms my heart. Finally, a truthful Drekisian, one who knows you're all cowards. I like you. What was your name?
My name is Vincent Mapper, and I am sorry I could not do anything that you have asked for. I suppose I shall take my leave now. I give a...
Before you go,
Yes?
tell me, what do you think of your Empress? She is not here. Her reach is not that long. Her ears may be big, but surely she cannot hear what you say. You are free to speak openly. It means nothing to me. I care not for the woman, one way or nor the other. But truthful Drekisian is a rare opportunity to understand the minds of her servants. I'm curious. How does she rate?
She rates fairly highly in my book, but not above reproach. Let's say 8 out of 10. I think that with her empire expanding as quickly as it has, she cannot know of all the going-ons of at the same time. There are some problem areas in the empire, which I am here to help with, and life is better with her, but not perfect, and no empress can make every correct decision. I personally believe that she tries to.
And this problem you are here to solve deals with this wizard Idria. Tell me about him. Who is he? Who is he to you?
I'll give him the truthful, but indirectly not actually true. He is someone that I may be working with in the future, and I need to figure out if he's someone that I can work with. I've been instructed by not just this master, but some others, that I should find out all I can about him.
He's just some man.
He holds some. He holds a significant amount of power in the in an area of Drekis.
And what information are you looking about him? I mean, you've come all this way to someone who does not like you. You ask for a favor. You offer anything within your power. This sounds like a very important person.
He is important, but also my power is limited, so I am able to make that offer without it being too significant. But yes, he is important to me. I look mostly on his history, his motivations, his character. So not necessarily about this power you have of tracking a wizard, but more of if anyone knows him.
So you do not seek the shazar in particular. You just want to know about if this man has a history.
Yes, and of course the shazars would be the people to come to because he is a spellcaster.
Perhaps? What sort of spellcaster is he? Wizard?
Wizard, are you aware of actually, first of all, am I aware of warlocks? Is this a thing?
They're a thing from a long, long time ago. No one has seen or heard of a warlock, since the Age of Might, 1500 years ago.
They're either a wizard or perhaps a warlock.
Bah!
I know. I give the warlock as a just maybe. More likely it is he is a wizard, just masquerading as a warlock, but there is some small chance.
Where does this man live? In Akuba? You say he holds power in Drekis, but no Drekisian would ever appoint an Akuban to rule. So how is it that he has power? Is he a traitor?
That is the curiosity. He has found himself in a position of power in the outskirts of Drekis, in the Spice Islands, which is why I had mentioned the spice trade that I brought up earlier.
The liminal space between our nations. Interesting. Bodhi Gildarin is the new king of Akuba. Has won the war, has brought peace. The Shazaran family runs the justice system, though, and a man like this, existing between two places, strikes me as somewhat of an outcast.
That makes sense, and I was most recently called on to testify in front of Empress Wick herself. I did testify that it was likely that he was an outcast in order to not raise tensions between our empires. It would behoove you as well to bring him to justice, for he is actively causing tensions.
Well, that is not my business. That is the business of good King Gildarin. I simply track the wizards, keep them in line, find and Are you familiar with the trial of the boats?
I am not.
Well, it's what we do to unregistered wizards. Not foreigners, of course, although if you stay here long, you must also be catalogued. Okay. You admit you have nothing to offer. You admit you ask great things. I cannot help you more than I have.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. Call upon me if you find something within my power that I could offer.
How would I do that?
Good question. Do I know of a way he could do that?
I mean, usually you send a letter to someone. You could give him your address. You could send a letter across the seas, but that's quite a bit. And you haven't been home in some time. I have no idea how he would call upon you, really. Other than leaving a message with your king?
Yeah, send a
Or
letter
king.
to my master.
Right, 123 Place Street.
Yes,
Lord
Lord Richard Marshall.
Got it. Okay. He takes notes, or he has his, one of his nearby scribes take the note. And then in the continually disparaging, rude manner, this guy, obviously, quite a dick. Instead of saying goodbye, instead of saying it was a pleasure to meet you, instead of saying like, I wish we could have worked out something out, he just says, "You're blocking my view. Get out." Because
Yeah.
yeah, unfortunate. And I think with that, you can exit Pod Shazar's palace. So, did you learn anything from that exchange, or was it entirely a waste of time?
I don't know how, is it... I'm guessing it's pretty, obvious information who the King of Akuba is right now.
Yes, you would know that. It is the man that he said, Bodhi Gildarin, formerly the head of the Gildarin family, which is in charge of their treasury. But after the Civil War, he is now in charge.
And there's a number of things I figured out, small pieces and bits of. I would say it was not entirely useless. How much they value this tracking system. A bit of a hint on how they could use it. The fact that I perhaps don't even need to go to the tracking system, but just need to find people who know. So that is quite a task as well.
Okay.
I got the sense that he certainly doesn't know of any Akuban warlocks, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah.
His best guess was an outcast, which lends credence to my theory. I don't get the sense that he actually knew him.
Okay. And if anyone were to know a spellcaster, it would be the Shazar family. They're in charge of wizards and magic, and he did sound like it was a lot of work to do that, but yet they still have a representative in every city, and they track all the wizards wherever they go, so clearly they must have some active knowledge.
Yeah. When I think about it, it's like the tracking him part isn't useful at all. We know exactly where he is. I was tasked to find out information about him, so...
So, do you think he's working on behalf of the Akuban kingdom or empire or one family there?
It's unknown. I'm leaning towards no. But he's clearly a Kuban, which means, and he clearly knows spells, which means it's most likely, if from my upbringing, I figured out that wizards learn spells from schools, so probably learned from an Kuban school.
Okay. So they probably have some information on him,
Yeah.
but he's not working on their behalf.
Working theory, yeah.
Okay, it's a decent working theory. It's pretty good. What would your next steps be?
Let's see. Can I get a sense from talking with the Akuban locals where one goes to Akuba to learn magic?
Ah. Yeah. Well, you could ask the few Akubans you know. You could just ask a random person in a tavern. How would you...
Of my man Samir seems like he'd know. I'll ask him.
Okay. And do you want to do this in any way? Like, if you want to ask him straight, he can give you a straight answer, but that
I'll ask
would
him
raise
straight.
flags. Okay, cool. You have no problem being honest.
Yeah.
So refreshing. A character who's just honest with everyone. Yeah, Samir will tell you that there's a very strong apprenticeship sort of thing. There's not quite like a school where people come and lots of pupils learn together. There's usually this person is talented and might be able to perform magic. We send him off to a local wizard of any possible skill level to get started. And then you would apprentice and do all of the bitch work for years, and in the process learn everything. It is... he'll tell you that it has some like unpleasant tones to it. The apprenticeship nature, like you do all of my bitch work, has a habit of being exploited a little bit, and so there's a lot of reservations about like if you have a kid who shows the potential to be a wizard, there's some question of like, do you want to go through the process of like being registered and being tracked and then having to go through like 10 years of like rough bitch work before this, or like do you just want to maybe not engage that skill, not develop that skill, which is one of the reasons why they have this magical tracking system, is that some people sometimes learn to develop on their own, or maybe find like a spell book and teach themselves, and then you've got all these unknown wizards running around, and it's just proven historically in this region, wizards who don't have a thumb down on them tend to cause trouble, and for the security of the state, they track them all. So that's typically how it's done here.
Okay. I asked him, is there a way that I could... How would I find out about this apprentice if he went with somebody? I basically brainstorm ideas with Samir on how to track down Idrea.
How do you find a needle in a haystack, right? How do you find one person in an area before Control F? That's hard.
I
Go ahead.
also ask Idrea, when they take your blood or samples or whatever to track, do you also register details with the government on like who you're apprenticed with and whatnot?
Yeah, definitely. They'll write down a full description, your family, your parents, who you're working with, who you're apprenticed with. It's a pretty detailed biometric process. It's like getting security clearance in the States, where you have to like interview with an FBI agent and provide all sorts of details.
Yeah, is there an established method to get one person's file?
You got to talk to the Shazar family. They approve that information or disapprove that information. They are the holders of that power.
Got it. I'll ask if this is always a individual negotiation, or is there an established request system for a price.
I mean, the king can obviously, request this information at will, but otherwise, it is one of the, it's one of those. It is a focal point in politics where everyone wants to hold on to their power and not share it unless it can somehow be deemed necessary or appropriately bargained for. But by and large, the Shazar family kind of, you've got the 12 families, they all intertwine. The Shazar family sort of sits a little bit off to the edge, and so does the family in charge of Faith, whose name I'm forgetting right now. What's the Faith's family name? The Baladin family. Those two sort of sit on the edges because they deal with like the supernatural, and they try to kind of hold off on things. Like the Faith family sees to the maintenance of shrines and temples and holy sites. And so no one really fucks with them, and they don't like to mess with other people. They like to just do their own lordly stuff. And the Shazar family, hunts down these spellcasters, but stays out of other people's politics. They kind of think of themselves as a little bit too good to meddle in local politics when they're dealing with the grandiose magic. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I let Samir know. It looks like I might just be going through a journey of Akuban territory to find this needle in a haystack then. I'll go to the main cities of Tal Ushar, and then Abinkai, and then perhaps Shandashar.
And just talk to local wizards and see if anyone knows this man.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're in Pike's Point. This would be the place to start. Samir recommends that you hire a guide to help you get around these places and find these wizards. The wizards themselves will be easy enough to find. Everyone knows who the local wizards are. But it will be a process. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 major cities, major towns, I should say. 1 city, 8 towns, and then a slew of villages. Too many villages to possibly do. But if you're a proper wizard, 80% chance that you're in a town or a city.
Right.
So
that was the amount of towns near Pike's Point? Was that?
No, that was Pike's Point is one, Aldir, Talishar, Abenkai. Those are all the towns. Sandashar, Unyaka. Right, so it would be a journey across Mystria.
Oh, I see. And then there's those top 2, which I haven't scrolled to, of Syro and Zakot, which, do we hope that's not the ones.
Oh, and Yatel, way over here.
Oh, please no.
Yeah, it's a big place, and these things are far away. And traveling to all of these places this could take a while. This could take a long while. And there's that 20% chance, ballparking, that he's not from one of these towns. Although maybe someone has heard of him if you go around to all the wizards. It's possible.
Okay, well, we're in Pike's Point. We can begin in Pike's Point.
All right. Well, why don't we leave that for next week? When we come back next week, we will begin the search on the ground for information regarding this man, this Idria, his past, who he might be connected to, what he might be doing, how he might be doing it. And until then, that's it. We're out. We'll catch you next week. Bye.
Great.